And for me to be a team to be a fan of the purple and gold, the Vikings and LSU. It's really crazy that how things turned out. As an LSU fan, the season didn't go as well as what we hoped to be. But to be honest with you, I really didn't have no faith in not just in the team. I just didn't have a faith in the direction that LSU was going. Right, with the Brian Kelly, I never really liked Brian Kelly from the start because I seen that what he did when he was over there in Notre Dame. Uh, and then just to see that him coming to LSU and think he was going to have a better success at LSU than he did Notre Dame. I just like, bro, that's the when it comes down to SEC football, you got to bring it. You got to bring it. And I just felt that the way that how just the vibe, what was going on at LSU, it just wasn't productive. It just wasn't productive enough. And I think that the standard has been lowered since Brian Kelly has got there. They brought Brian Kelly in hopes that he would deliver the championship because he had took Notre Dame to the NCAA championship. But my thing is this. I don't expect anybody who's came from a lesser conference or even just had a lesser school. I'm not saying lesser school as far as like, the school itself, but just in football in general. Going from Notre Dame to LSU, that's a big jump. It really is a big jump. And Notre Dame is only going to go as far as the coaches take them. Because the talent wise, you can't just plug in any coach and plug in any coach over there at Notre Dame, and then they're just gonna still play great. They're gonna play great Notre Dame football. It's not gonna happen. You could pretty much do that at Ohio State. You could put any coach at Ohio State. You could put any coach at Alabama, and they talent themselves can actually win football games. Now, will it win them championships? Probably not. But there are just some schools who already have a football team that's already well built for championship games. And I feel like that for LSU standpoint, I feel like that we're just about there. We're not the same championship. We don't have the same championship rosters and teams and have that kind of we don't have that kind of like we don't have that kind of status or just that aura like that team that we had at the last Natty. Joe Burrows, Justin Jefferson, all those guys. So we don't have that. But I always say this year after year, LSU has a team that could go to the playoffs. It has a talent pool that could go to has the talent of a team that could go to the college football playoffs every year. And what we're seeing is that there you need to have a guy that fits right with the caliber. Like when you talk about coaching, Brian Kelly's coaching, his coaching, his like his coaching, his like if you was to look at Brian Kelly, if you was to rank him and all that kind of stuff, like you was to look at him, it doesn't match the pedigree of LSU. It doesn't match the status, the status or the aura or the vibe of LSU. It doesn't match the talent rating that LSU has. See, you can't just see with LSU. LSU is not one of those teams where it's like, they have the roster that can really compete. You know what I'm saying? They have the roster they compete. I feel like all these college football teams that we see, they have talent. But you got to have coaches who are just strictly a player's coach. You can't be having this old, arrogant, strictly business type of like mindset of a coach. Yes, you're supposed to have that kind of mindset, but you can't just be majority of that, like most of that, like you can't just be 85% or 90% of that, or 95%, or even 100. You can't even be that and not be for the players. And I feel like that he's there for business. I think he was there for money. He wasn't there to like try to connect to the culture. I just felt like there was a disconnect with the culture. Fans and students were hopeful that, hey, we known you. We known you based on Notre Dame. We don't know you anywhere before that, because he was somewhere else before Notre Dame. But who brings it up? Only for people to bring up. Only the people who bring it up is the people who host like podcasts, is people who have done their digging, done the research, and dug deep and to see where all this stemmed from. What kind of career has Brian Kelly led? What has he made? Where did he start from, and how did he get to the way he is now, where he doesn't have a job now? And I think from what I've known, I didn't look at the interview and stuff like that in the preseason, but he was saying something about, like, I think it had something to do with the competition about the non-conference games. I think it was something about non-conference games. I could be wrong, but I have been in my arguments. I have been saying this, because I would talk to my brother, and we would talk about that and say, "Yo, this is the same guy who was." I said, This is the same guy who was crying about, about competing against better competition for non-conference games. You know what I'm saying? And I said this. I said I don't think, and I said I don't even know why that why they even have a schedule where they had Georgia Southern on there. I don't understand that. Why would we have a Louisiana Tech? It's cool to have another Louisiana school to be in there, but if you're gonna put another Louisiana school on the schedule, if you're gonna put them on the schedule to play, why not get Tulane? Why not get the better competition? Because when you think about all the competition in the state of Louisiana, if you wanted to stay home, if you wanted to be home and play a non-conference game, like, it's cool to do an HBCU. It's cool to do like Southern University, like how they did last year when they had Southern University go against LSU, and that was more. It was more just a football game. It was a cultural thing, and Southern knew what they was getting into. That brought money. That brought more money to Southern. That actually did more benefits with Southern, because now that is more than football. That means that the school president of LSU and the school president of Southern made it more of a cultural thing, made it more of a business thing, because to be honest with you, it actually helped Southern a little bit. When we play against these smaller schools, that's what happens. And I appreciate Brian Kelly for that. But when we talk about anybody else outside of the state of Louisiana, and we're playing against these non-conference games, we're not even getting teams like, give us Northwestern, give us Penn State, give us Michigan for fuck's sakes. Because when I had looked it up, LSU and Michigan have never met, ever. They never met. And it's a shame. When we look at Ohio State, I like, well, damn, why we can't get Ohio State and LSU, a non-conference game? But guess what? Guess what? We look at their record. The record between Ohio State and LSU is 1-1-1. One win for each of the schools, for both schools. One loss for both schools and one draw for both schools. And I say, why can't we have more of that then? Because it obviously means that we can compete against each other. But here's what I believe. I believe that they're trying to protect one of the top schools in the conference, because it's actually going to upset the balance of what the college football playoffs is going to be. Imagine LSU imagine LSU, right? Let's just say hypothetically they're in the top four, and Ohio State is the top four, and they already done played each other. And let's just say LSU beat Ohio State, right? Don't you think they probably gonna shape it to where like LSU will play against Ohio State again for a rematch, for a bigger game, the Natty? They probably would, because somebody's got to break the tiebreaker. But they're not gonna do that. Looking at that record, it just seemed like, okay, y'all are perfectly compatible to each other when it comes down to competing. So we're gonna protect that. I think they have protected Ohio State for too long. I think LSU has been playing so much of have played somewhat of a tough schedule. And my thing is, Texas A&M is in the conference. Texas is in the conference. My thing is, LSU is always going to have the harder path because we're always going to have the Texas A&M on our schedule because they are our rival. But Alabama is our number one rival. They are our nemesis. And playing against Alabama, like, LSU has had it tough because they can't afford to take any losses before we even get to Alabama. And I said this. I even said that Brian Kelly might just be out of there after the Texas A&M game. He might just be out of there. He might just be out of there. He might just be out of there. He might just be out of there after the Texas after the Texas A&M game, because we have seen that how LSU played. We have seen how he's coaching the team. People always want to, then they always want to show up the record like, oh, he barely loses at home. He's got this big old record. He's 20-something-2 or whatever at home night games. Who cares? You still got to go out and beat Texas A&M because Texas A&M is actually one of those schools that could be in the college football playoffs. And the fact that we have yet to play Alabama, I said the way that he's going, we lost to Ole Miss. We lost to Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss. We lost to Ole Miss. And Ole Miss always given us, competitive games and all that kind of stuff. But even though we have the better, when it came down to a series between us and them, we have the record. We have the winning record. But just to see that we lost to Ole Miss and see how many spots that we didn't dropped, I say, golly. And the reason why that we dropped so far is because, like, ever since the Clemson game, they always want to give us Clemson. A non-conference game, they always want to give us Clemson, but they never want to give us Michigan. They never want to give us Penn State. They never want to give us Ohio State. They never want to give us teams like Northwestern. They didn't even give us Indiana. Why we haven't played Indiana? And I think that the other team that we played in the Big Ten, I think the team that we played in the Big Ten, or whatever, was Wisconsin. We played Wisconsin before for a season opener. I think we did that probably twice. We played Wisconsin as a season opener. I think we won one. I think we had lost one or something like that. So, and it's always on neutral grounds. They always come down to Texas to go play that game. They always come to Houston to go play that at the Reliant Stadium, and Reliant Stadium, that's the old name, at the NRG Stadium, and yeah. But they never want to give us those. They never want to give us those other schools. Hell, get LSU to play somebody like a Texas Tech. Give us Texas Tech. Put Baylor on our schedule. Give us some schools who have somewhat of a competitiveness to them, and let's see. But we always want to get these weak schools. Georgia Southern. We always want to play against. Then we go ahead and we play Louisiana. After Clemson, we play against Louisiana Tech. Then we go and we play. I think Georgia Southern. And I don't know how many games it was, but it was probably like 3 non-conference games that we played. We played Florida. Florida was in our conference, but they was unranked. They didn't playing those teams after Clemson, and Clemson was the higher seed. They was the higher seed than us. We beat Clemson. Cool. But after that, we play against unranked opponents. Beating them didn't help us at all. It didn't help us at all. It'd have been one thing if we had beat Clemson, and then we had another ranked team like after that, and then we took a cupcake. Then we have a cupcake game where we beat the hell out of that team. And then if Florida was at least ranked in some capacity, like beating them, it would have helped us tremendously. But the fact that we have played some 3 weak schools after the Clemson game, after the season opened against Clemson, it didn't help us. So when we got to play Ole Miss, we was already too comfortable of playing the way we played because, hey, we didn't need to play like that. We didn't need to play all out. We don't need to play like that. We played against Ole Miss. We didn't get whooped, but we lost. And I didn't expect LSU to lose that game. But to see that how far they dropped after that game, it just told me everything I need to know. And I said, who's putting up the schedule for this? We seen Texas go against Ohio State, and we just thought like, oh boy, why? But then the score over there was 14-7. And the fact that Texas had a game against Ohio State like that, I said, well, that was a smoke and mirrors because if they only limit Ohio State to 14 points, I was like, well, sure, the rest of the schedule should be a breezy for Texas because if they competing against arguably the top three, matter of fact, the number 1 school in the country. And the fact they only let them down, they only limited them to 14 points. And Texas hasn't lost a home game. Now, you look at the schedule right now. Let's say they haven't lost a home game. But starting off at that point, we didn't know what the direction Texas was going. But they sure been helping Texas a lot. They have helped Texas a lot. Even when Texas was taking those losses in the season, like they was helping Texas a lot to keep themselves relevant because of Arch Manning. It's not because of the coaching. It's because of Arch Manning. It's because of the player that they want to see. This is why I say that the sports is rigged in so many ways. But back to what I'm saying with LSU. Playing those 3 schools after the Clemson game didn't help us at all. We go ahead and we play Ole Miss, we lost. Then after that, we go ahead and we play Vanderbilt. I'm thinking, okay, Vanderbilt. We can play Vanderbilt. We can beat them. I think it was going to be a competitive game, but I didn't think they can't stop. And my thing is, ever since Brian Kelly has left, Brian Kelly got there, I had said this. I said, for some odd reason, all the other coaches that we had, we could be able to stop dual threat quarterbacks. We was able to stop and be able to contain scrambling quarterbacks. But as soon as Brian Kelly's get there, he don't know how to coach against that. He doesn't know how to coach against that. And I say you have been in a national championship and you have been in the playoffs playing against teams who had quarterbacks that wasn't a statue. You played against teams that had quarterbacks that can move out of the pocket and can make plays make plays with their legs. And my thing is, it's like you come to LSU and all of a sudden you forgot how to coach against that. You let Marcel Reeds or Marcus Reeds, whatever his name is, Marcel Reeds, you let him run all over us like crazy. We can't stop scrambling the quarterbacks. Diego, the quarterback for Vanderbilt, unexpectedly was running the ball against us, like scrambling against us like that. We couldn't stop it. We lost to Vanderbilt based on his play with his legs. We lost to him. And then we go over, and then after that, I said, man, that's 2 losses right there. And we haven't even got to Texas A&M yet. We haven't even got to Alabama yet. And I said, our season's over with. You cannot go to the college playoffs with more than 2 losses. You just can't. You cannot go into the college football playoffs with just 2 losses. You just can't. That's not gonna do well for us because it's gonna cause controversial conversations. Who do you put in there? And they always gonna be willing to put an SEC school. They always willing to put a SEC school got a good record. Got 2 losses. They're gonna try to consider to get them put them in there. Even if all the rest of the schools that's outside of the SEC got one loss. See somebody else outside of the SEC, they got the same amount of losses as LSU. They gonna try to keep their ass out. Just considering because what's gonna come down to the eye test. That's what they're gonna do. Because it's all gonna come down to the eye test. That's all it's gonna be. It's just gonna be an eye test from that moment on. Because I'm saying, okay, well, who the eye test? I said, well, who's the better school who could put up a better fight against these teams that's in the playoffs? If LSU had 2 losses on their record for the season, right, and then you had somebody that had 2 losses, like somebody like a Tulane had 2 losses, right, and they're knocking on the door in the playoffs, who do you think they're gonna put in? They're gonna put LSU in over Tulane because they're gonna look at Tulane and say, well, Tulane. Let's just say Tulane had put up more points than LSU have against opponents this year. Let's say that happened with the same record. They're still going to put LSU in the playoffs because they say, hey, by the eye test, they're going to put up a better game against that school, against this school. So yeah. But back to the LSU thing with Brian Kelly. You can't stop scrambling the quarterbacks. I said that I said this is going to put him in a hot seat if we lose to Texas A&M. But I did not. And I said, and when they lost to Texas A&M, I didn't think that they was actually going to consider firing him. Because right after that, we went into a bye week. And they always want to give us a bye week before we play Alabama. We come back after the bye week. I didn't even think they was gonna fire. I didn't think they was gonna fire him during the season. I thought they was just gonna fire him probably at least like after the Alabama game or at least at the end of the season. But they just couldn't take it anymore. They couldn't take it. It got bad to the point because we didn't have a team. We didn't have a school president because the school president had took a job at Rutgers. July 1st, June 30th was his last day. LSU. July 1st, he started at Rutgers. So he was already started his new job right that next day. Takes the job to Rutgers. I say, bro, you decided to leave LSU for Rutgers? I can't even tell if this is a business decision or what. Or maybe he saw something that he probably can't say out on the camera or in the interviews. I don't know. Then you go, and then so they finally had got a team president, probably like they finally had got a school president a couple of weeks ago. Got a new AD, and the new AD is when they got a new president, a new school president, he hired an AD. So the fact that we had to get a new AD, we got a new school president, got a new AD, then come to front, and then with the rest of that, it comes with football, with the LSU football. It's like, wow. And I always said this. I say football is really, really football kind of shapes how colleges go. Football shapes how colleges go. People go to colleges based on a football program. I'm sorry, and it always felt like that way to me. It's like, man, if the football team is good, there must be a good school, because it just somehow that football shapes the dynamic, and it shapes the aura, it shapes the feel, it shapes the culture of that school. And so when LSU football culture, it seemed to be kind of not diminished, but just kind of felt reduced to basically like become a shell. When they become a shell of themselves, it's ridiculous. When they become a shell of themselves, it's like who would want to go there? every, I mean, Nick Saban brought a championship. He shaped the culture of how football is supposed to be. Shaped the culture of the school. Les Miles becomes the coach. He shaped the culture of the school, but eventually he had to get fired because of what happened, what transpired. Coach Algeron, he was their interim coach. He became the head coach. Won us the championship. And so I'm just looking at this. I'm like, we've had successes with 3 coaches who eventually became head coaches for us. And Brian Kelly is probably the very first head coach that I didn't see that pretty much failed. Not everybody can win. Not everybody can win it every year. Not everybody can win the natty. Not everybody is going to have a successful season. There's only could be one winner. But the fact that you have a Brian Kelly, who was a head coach of LSU football, he's the very first head coach that I've seen that failed. He failed. And I've always said this. He's arrogant. He's got this arrogant, he's got this attitude about himself. And this is the reason why that he's not being as successful or not being as successful at achieving the ultimate goal. It's been getting in the way. What you think you was able to get away with it at Notre Dame, you can't do that at LSU. LSU is a whole different breed, a whole different monster. It's a whole different culture. Notre Dame's just gonna put up with what they're gonna put up with. LSU, we're not gonna put up with certain things. And the fact that you coming in, you trying to bring that same aura from Notre Dame to LSU, it's not gonna cut it. And you see what happened. You're a coach that's very arrogant. You talk about these non-conference games, about the scheduling and all that kind of stuff. Give us the competition. You was talking about how SEC and the Big Ten have to get together and do blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, who are you to come up with that? Because Nick Saban and Les Miles didn't do that. I understand that you're trying to get some competition in here, but it's just like it's like I understand. But you're not even a winning coach. You're not even a winning coach when it comes down to championship caliber. When it comes down to championship competitiveness, you're not a winning coach. I'm sorry. You're not. You can win games, but I didn't see where we barely are winning these games. And I said, man, this team has so much talent, and we was only able to barely pull this game off. The Florida quarterback threw 5 interceptions against LSU's defense, but we barely win the game. How? Somebody throwing 5. If I threw 5 interceptions, I expect my team to get blown out by 30. But that wasn't the case. Florida barely lost. Florida really could have really won that game if he just cleaned up his if Florida quarterback had cleaned up his play a little bit. Even a little sprinkle of it would have done enough for them to get the win over us. I'm sorry. But that just goes to show you it's not just the talent on that football roster. It's the coaching. Special teams was out of whack. I seen the special teams coach was getting yelled at by Brian Kelly, and he just couldn't say nothing. You gave him a straight face. No emotion, just stoic. And he probably just brushed it off and said, "Hey," in his mind, say, "Hey, we're gonna do better." But that's how you know, and I'm like, that's how you know that it was just trending in the wrong direction. He's fired. Now he talking about this lawsuit that's against him because he's saying that, hey, LSU, they trying his attorney or his lawyer saying that LSU has made it impossible for Brian Kelly to land another job. I say, how? We're paying you all. We paying you your contract. We're going to honor your contract. We're the one that's taking a hit by paying you your contract. We're going to pay you your contract, but we just need you out of here because we're going to put another coach in your. We're going to put another coach here. We're going to put another coach here, another qualified coach here. And I'm not saying Brian Kelly's not qualified to take another job, but I just think that if you're talking about competing for the Natty, no. Brian Kelly would do better to go coach for an FCS school and bring them to a FCS championship. But for a bowl, for FBS football, for FBS championships, the Natty, no. Them days are done. You couldn't get it done at Notre Dame. You couldn't get it done at LSU. And LSU is probably the best program the best program you probably ever coached. Because I always think LSU's program is better than Notre Dame's. What we have to go through just to get to the playoffs, what we have to go through to get the record that we trying to get, hell, we have to be lucky that we didn't lose 1 or 2 games. We already know Alabama is probably going to be that one loss that we can handle. But to lose to everybody else and knowing that Texas A&M was a problem has became our rivalry. Come on, man. Playing Arkansas for the boot of Louisiana. Then we got to play against Ole Miss. I think that's a trophy right there too as well. So that's another competitive game. Like we have so much competitiveness that's going against us. It's like, man, LSU is lucky that LSU is probably have one of the toughest schedules. I've always had one of the toughest schedules. Everybody else is much better than. I mean, when you talk about playoff teams, you know, I feel like there are some teams that are better than LSU, and they don't get the type of schedule we get. We're kind of like that good team who always like say, "Hey, we're going to give you this tough ass schedule." Enough to where we can try to keep you out because we got these other schools who are better, who we're trying to protect. I'm like, man, come on, man. But Lane Kiffin, welcome to LSU. Welcome to the boot. I don't understand that why they didn't let you. They say that your request to coach the SEC championship is denied. Booker Farland said this. He said, "Hey, it's always good to fit. It's good to fit. It makes sense and it feels good to finish what you started. But if the school to say, hey, we're going to deny you for to compete against to compete in the SEC championship, okay, cool. Now I don't know if I don't even know what the reason is why they denied that, because maybe they just got in their feelings but I'm like, you shouldn't be in your feelings because you had to expect that he was going to leave. You had to expect that this was coming. You had to expect, hey, look at the other schools. Who is a school that needs a coach? Especially at the degree of a program. Look at LSU. Who would there's a head coach vacancy right there. Why can't who is not going to take that job? Who's not going to take that job? Even an assistant head coach or even an offensive coordinator in the NFL, they see that, they be like, oh wow, there's a head coach vacancy going on, and ain't none of these teams trying to offer me jobs, and I know that there's a few teams that need head coaches. It's a few teams in the NFL that got interim coaches in the positions, and none of y'all trying to offer me nothing, and I'm the OC. Even if I was a defensive coordinator, y'all ain't trying to offer no DC, offensive coordinator jobs to fill in, to become the head coach of that team that's been ran right now by interior coaches. All right, we finna go ahead and we finna stoop down to the incident. We finna stoop down to college football. What y'all talking? And guess what? And guess what? None. Lane Kiffin was the best option, the only option. We wasn't going away anywhere else. And LSU knew they had to get Brian Kelly out of there just for Lane Kiffin to step in. And I think Lane Kiffin's going to do a great job. And I think Lane Kiffin, to be honest with you, I had more belief in him than I did with Brian Kelly. I'm not even going to say Dan, because guess what? There was never a belief in Brian Kelly. Never. I never believed in Brian Kelly that he was going to deliver us a championship. I just didn't, because I seen what he did at Notre Dame. And then seeing that the arrogance that he has, that he carries, and the attitude he brings, I said, bro, you're not like that. Stop. You're trying to like carry this aura about yourself about like this like you just you gonna get whatever you want. They're gonna do whatever I want because you feel like you got some type of power. But look how it's treating you. Now you're saying that now that your attorney or your lawyer is saying that that it's saying that you can't, that we're making it impossible for you to land a job. Get the hell out of here. We don't want nothing to do with you. We don't care about what you do elsewhere. You can get a head coach job. Sure, cool. If that was the case, you would have been up for the Florida job. Florida was looking for the head coach. They fired their head coach. I think Florida had won a game and fired their coach right after. After being on a losing streak, they finally won a game, and then they went ahead and fired him anyway. You mean tell me you couldn't been in the running for the Florida job? Would you like to get your revenge on LSU? Because we play Florida every year. You could have got that, but you didn't. So my thing is, you brought this upon yourself. You didn't deliver. It got so bad that since the school didn't have a president at the time, the state governor had to step in to help with the process. To get your ass out of there. The governor of Louisiana had to step in. And make sure, because guess what? Who's carrying the state Louisiana when Louisiana's economically themselves are not doing good? Who was the one that's bringing money to the states? Who's the one that's generating this money to the states? LSU football. LSU is bringing money into the thing. LSU is the one that's generating the money and keeping Louisiana afloat. And when you're messing with that, when that is getting tampered with, when that's getting messed with, the government is going to step in. You had the state governor of Louisiana had to step in with all the other top dogs to make sure that this process goes well. I say, hey, we're going to pay you your money. We're going to pay you your money. We're going to pay you what you owe. You had this much money left on the contract? Okay, yeah, we're going to pay you that. But we need you out of here. And now you're going back and saying that now you're representatives are saying that we're making it impossible for you to land another job. We don't give a damn about you where you go. We just wanted you out of there. We already got our guy. We already got our guy, and we're gonna pay him. And then from what I just read, this just probably before I went live, they're paying Lane Kiffin as if like he was staying at Ole Miss. $150,000 per game, up to $1 million for the championship. And you talk about we making it impossible for Brian Kelly to land another head coaching job or just another job, period. Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay. We probably should have done it because when we hired you, you fired the coaching staff that was here. You fired the regime that was here, and you brought your own. And look how that turned out. Terrible. And now we finally got our guy Lane Kiffin, and Lane Kiffin is going to actually change the game in the transfer portal. He's going to have some guys coming from going to transfer from Ole Miss to come to LSU, and what that's going to look like. We already see the possible. We already see the potential. We see the potential. We see the possibilities there. And we see that we feel hopeful. We got to worry about Brian Kelly and what he got going on. Yeah, we still got to deal with him because we got to pay his money. And if it's something if we have to deal with him court wise, then we'll just deal with that. But we really don't have nothing to do with him. We really don't have nothing to do with him when it comes down to playing football. We find our football guy. I think that he is going to reestablish the culture. He doesn't know hand to hand how the culture is, but just playing against us, coaching against us, like he understands. He knows that what this culture is like. And I think that he's gonna rebrand it. He's gonna get it back to where it was, and it's not gonna be the same because coaches bring a different aura to the bring a different thing to the culture and to football. But I think he's gonna bring it to where it's like, man, this feels good to be an LSU football fan again. It feels good to be an LSU student again. There's that. LSU finished off the season 7-5. They still qualify for a bowl game. They got one more game to play, in the bowl game. And I just felt like I was just like, man. I mean, from the quarterback position to it's just like LSU's defense is still there. I think that the offense, we can run the ball. The pass game, it can be a lot better. So we just gotta find our quarterback. We gotta find a quarterback. We already have our guy in Lane Kiffin. I think that we're gonna be okay. His son, Knox Kiffin. Before when Lane Kiffin was at Ole Miss, he said that there was 3 schools that he was looking for, and Knox Kiffin had chosen LSU to be one of the ones. But I think he made LSU his number one. Now it's going to be interesting how that comes about because if his son does come down here to LSU, I don't know when he comes out of high school. I don't know when he graduates high school. I don't know when he's going to commit. It might be like 2027. I don't know. But if he decides to come to LSU, it's going to be wonderful. It's going to be interesting how that turns out to be. He wants to forge his own path. I heard he wants to forge his own path. He doesn't want to be coached under his dad. He wants to go against his dad or whatever. Not just from a hateful standpoint. I think he loves his dad very much, and I think that he's been raised right by him. I just think from a competitive spirit, from a competitive standpoint, I think he wants to go against his father, which is no problem. But I think it would be good that you have a stable path by you being underneath your dad's wing and seeing and knowing coaching and all that kind of stuff. Kind of like the same situation with Deion Sanders and his sons. So we'll see. Now, let's talk about the Vikings. Oh, gosh. The Minnesota Vikings are atrocious. This is my team that I've been rooting for since the Dante Culpepper days, since the last year of Dennis Green's last year with Minnesota. We're talking about when they had got Dante Culpepper, when Chris Carter was on his way out the door, when Randy Moss stepped in. Then you had Nate Burleson. Yes. I've been watching Minnesota football. I've been knowing about it, been keeping up with it since then. Even when Dante Culpepper made the Madden cover. Yes. Look it up. Since then, 0-1, 0-2, wherever's one of those years where Dennis Green, it was Dennis Green's last year, Mike Tice became the head coach for the Minnesota Vikings. Yes. For sure. I've been watching Minnesota since then. Here's my thing. The Minnesota Vikings are too good of a team to be this sorry. I'm seeing wide receivers have been dropping the ball for the past couple of weeks. This is so new to me. Plays they normally will make, easy plays, dropping them. Quarterback play, atrocious. We understand this is J.J. McCarthy's first year playing at football, playing for a season. It's his first season playing. He still have dealt with injuries, but when he come back from the injury, he'll play. But even with J.J. McCarthy, so like, man, he hasn't even got 16, 17 games under his belt yet. He hasn't had enough time to really get this process and all that. And I think we have the fact that Minnesota knew what our schedule was going to be like, and we was going to rely on a first-year guy. Like basically, this is a second year, but this is actually his first year. He's actually get to perform. I said, man, they just kind of set this dude up for failure. And players, I keep saying that this is first year. We're gonna ride behind him. We're gonna try to help him. And guess what? And You see how that turned out. Max Brosmer, whatever his name is, first career start. Blah 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 blah. Receivers dropping the ball again. They're not helping. They not helping these guys. They not helping the rookies. They not helping the young guys to be successful. If you are a veteran, on any football team and you have a young guy at the helm, a rookie, whatever, free agent, whatever, undrafted, whatever. If you have a guy at the helm who's supposed to be helping the team move the ball, put points on the board, you have to make his job as easy as possible. He can do everything else right. But if you ain't doing right yourself, it's going to look atrocious. And I seen that yesterday. Receivers dropping the ball, passes getting tipped because y'all can't catch the ball and they get intercepted. And it's just like I seen all what I need to see. And I would say that the Minnesota Vikings are the worst team in the NFL right now. I really believe that the Dolphins can beat us right now. I really believe that the Jets will be able to put up some numbers right now against us. We was able to get to Sam. We was able to be able to make stops against Sam Darnold, but it still wasn't enough. We lost 26-0. How the hell we managed to put up 0 points on the board? 0. People talking about that they always talk about, they say, hey, y'all had Sam Darnold. We had Sam Darnold. We had Daniel Jones. But it really all started with Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins didn't even want to take a hometown discount because he was looking for the guaranteed money. The guaranteed money that Atlanta had offered him, we couldn't match that. So he went ahead and left. He trying to lie and say that, oh, well, if I had known that the Atlanta Falcons was going to get them a quarterback, you knew Penix Jr. was coming into the draft. How the hell did you not see that? How the hell did you not read that? And then you have to learn. You have to learn in the mock draft or learn for organizations. Players, listen. Y'all in the dough. Y'all in the dough of the NFL. Y'all know. Y'all know that the direction that the on the first picks that these teams are trying to go. Oh, they trying to go. Hey, they look at with Cincinnati. They was talking about Joe Burrow's getting beat up in the backfield, getting hit all the time, and that's why he always hurt. Guess what? What do you think that the direction that Cincinnati was going to go? They was going to draft linemen. First 2 picks, they was going to get linemen. Atlanta, they was going to get a quarterback. They went ahead and drafted a quarterback. They even drafted Michael Penix Jr. even after getting you. After getting Kirk Cousins. And you mean to tell me Kirk Cousins, I say no, you wouldn't have stayed in Minnesota because you was looking at the money. You're the same guy who shops at Kohl's and you're the one that's trying to go for the most money. You're trying to finesse the system. You wasn't there to win. That lets me know that you wasn't there to win in the first place. You looked at the guaranteed money and you say, you know what, since y'all don't want to match that, I'm like, God damn, how much more money do you need, my boy? So this is the reason why that quarterbacks or players you fail in their careers and don't get rings because they're looking at the wrong thing. I said, watch when y'all start asking for more money. Watch how it happens. Brandon Ayuk, like when he was sitting here crying about his contract and shit like that, guess what? Where you at? Crying to the 49ers about his contract, about contract negotiations. Then they finally give you the money. Guess what? You don't even show up for it. You sign that contract. Next thing you know, this season came up. Guess what? Where you at? Nowhere to be found. Talking about you one of the best receivers in the league. But where you at? Nobody knows where you at. And I'm saying y'all got all these endorsements deals and y'all got all this going on and y'all still looking at money. Money. I'm like, how much more money do you need? This is why y'all careers hurt. This is why they keep talking about y'all every single year. I mean, people always want to get your money, get your that. Y'all always want to be, and y'all listen to these media folks, they always say, hey, get your money. But then here's the thing. Get your money and play like you deserve that money. Play play like this organization made the right thing by resigning your ass, giving you that contract extension. And probably about more than half of the players in the league who signs contracts don't play up to that. Don't play up to the contract extensions. They don't play up to that money. They don't. Look at Kirk Cousins now. What are you doing? So to say that that we had Sam Darnold played one good year, and I never thought that Sam Darnold was bad. I just think that organizations was failing these quarterbacks because they expected the quarterbacks to save the organizations. And I say, bro, y'all the one that shaped the organization into where it is, and you expect the first rookie quarterback to come in and clean up your mess, to clean up the disaster that you made. No. A great promising quarterback coming out of college going getting drafted to the New York Jets. It's almost like a career ender. How are you remember after the Jets game? Like, come on, after the Jets season. Jets career. No, I never thought Sam Darnold was bad. And then when we finally picked him, I was like, okay. I really was. I was like, I said he's not bad, but he's just. But let's see. Let's see what OC is gonna is. Let me see what he could cook up with Sam Darnold. And man, won us 14 games. We went 14-3. And I know that he played atrocious in a playoff game, but in that wild card or whatever, I don't know what it was. I think it was the wild card or something. Probably the best season he's had up to that point. You let him walk. Now look what he's doing in Seattle. Then you had Daniel Jones. Didn't know why they even got Daniel Jones in the first place. Only for him to go to Indiana. And look what he's doing. He went to Indianapolis. Look how the coach doing over there. Because y'all so fixated and committed to J.J. McCarthy, who is a NCAA champion, who really didn't have a full season to display what he really about because he was hurt. He got hurt the preseason last year, so he was hurt for the rest of the season. He's been doing all the rehab and taking all the necessary steps to get back into shape and to get into that football space and all that kind of stuff. Only for him to do what he do, and he's still getting hurt. I just don't know, and I feel sorry for Justin Jefferson. Then before I went live, and I don't blame Adam Thielen for doing this, but he asked the Minnesota Vikings he asked them to release him, and they gave him his wish. The Minnesota Vikings had waived Adam Thielen. I don't blame him. I think that Seattle game has done everything they need to know. It lets them know that, hey, you had this guy. We got a guy at the helm on another team that we were playing against. Look what he's doing against us. They're able to put 26 and able to leave us 0. That told them everything that they needed to know. So, it sucks to be an LSU fan, but I'm more hopeful with LSU. The Vikings, I'm not so sure. I don't know if OC has lost the locker room. I think to be honest with you, overall he's a better coach than Mike Zimmer ever was. But you can see something's wrong. So I just don't know. I don't know what to expect from here on out. But I'd be damned if they go the rest of the season like this. At worst, push come to shove, they had the Vikings winning. Like they said when it was doing predictions before the season started, They was looking at the Minnesota Vikings and said if they play, they was giving them like 13-4, 14-3. They was giving them like 12-5 or something like that. They was giving them these great records. But that's all based on if everybody is playing their best football. But in reality, I was thinking that maybe this team was probably gonna go like 10-7, maybe 9-8. If we talking from a realistic standpoint, but now it seems like it's gonna be worse than that. JJ McCarthy been injured, hurt. The conservative play calling that we keep making. Brian Flores right now, when it comes down to coaching, he's actually doing a better job coaching than Kevin O'Connell is doing. Their defense is still making plays, but it's only so much the defense can hold up. Because I'm like, man, if you're going to tire our guys out because hey, you can't seem to keep your offense on the field long enough. We just got off the field for making stops, making plays. Then we kick the ball back to them just get the ball back to having to kicking the ball, back to us. Only for us to put the defense back on the field. It's crazy. So I don't know what's going on. I don't know what it's going to take. I hope that Justin Jefferson doesn't request a trade, but it is hurting his Hall of Fame run. It is hurting his Hall of Fame run because he was putting up historic numbers with Kirk Cousins, and now it seems like he's not going to have the same magic. And then you got to think about it. He's only getting older. He's still in his 20s, but he's only going to get older. And I'm saying if he wants to keep that streak where he's having 1,000-yard seasons and all that kind of stuff, and to be able to crack that 10,000, 11,000, 12,000 yard career yards and all that kind of stuff, and have like at least 100 touchdowns, they got to fix that quarterback position fast. JJ McCarthy has got to stop trying to be this aura kid and just play fucking football. Play football, win something. And then maybe we'll have a different conversation. Maybe we'll have a different vibe, and maybe we'll get a different attitude when it comes down to talking about Vikings football. I'm Keith Fanatimus here. This is the Fanatimus Sports Network. I will see y'all soon. I will see y'all tomorrow. Y'all take care of yourselves. Be easy. And let's hope that my purple and gold team, Minnesota and LSU, will get their stuff together. LSU's football season is pretty much over with. They got one more game to go. Minnesota, y'all still can kind of turn this thing around, but you're going to have to win out for the rest of the way. And I just don't believe y'all would do it. It pains me to see y'all go every week and y'all playing the way y'all play. Y'all need to fix it fast, or there will be some changes, because there's so much disconnect going on right now with the organization and on the field play that I don't even know if y'all locked in anymore. With that being said, go Rockets. Y'all doing y'all damn thing. Keep going Rockets. That's my team too, NBA. Y'all keep going Rockets. Keep doing y'all thing. Keep striving. Keep thriving. Keep doing better. And yeah, I'm Keith Fanatimus once again. This is Fanatimus Sports Network. I will see y'all soon. Again, tomorrow. Be safe. Be easy. Love y'all. Peace.